Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. This is the Mama Birds podcast, and we are on episode 6.
Episode 6.
Yes.
So what are we going to talk about today, ladies?
I got nervous because I was like,
Nutrition.
episode 6.
Yes, we're going to talk about nutrition today. And kind of, not like nutrition in like a boring way, more so like
How we go
about nutrition, how we grocery shop, ingredients to avoid, things we look for, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, more generalized.
Yes,
we are not nutritionists.
Yes. Yeah,
by any means.
Yeah, no. But we just are, I feel like we're
very health conscious.
Yeah, like we're health conscious. We've learned a lot of things.
We pay attention.
So I'm kind of just gonna talk about definitely things like how we grocery shop, things we avoid, and things that we are like staples in our diet. And maybe talk about some like staple meals that we eat too.
Yes, definitely.
I have
and
staple
snacks.
meals.
And snacks.
And moderation. Definitely we're going to talk
and
about
like
some
balance.
moderation, which is, exactly why we're having some wine here,
Which
so
is my
no
favorite
judgment.
part. Yes. Today has not been my best nutrition day.
Yeah. We definitely, I think, all live a very balanced, like, eat well but also enjoy life. And I think we should also kind of talk about like kids eating and stuff. Kind of, we can throw that in there too. Just kind of
that's a good
briefly
idea.
jump into that. But
Absolutely.
All right, who wants to go first on like their food philosophy, kind of their overall like what their guidelines?
Well,
because
you
we
know
all
what?
have different like I'm going to use the word diet as like just a overarching thing, like not an actual diet, but like what is your daily diet nutrition look like?
I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and start because I'm going to let you guys do most of the talking on this because I do actually look up to you guys for a lot of my nutrition. The way I was raised was my mom was on every single diet that could come along. Absolutely, you name it, she's been on it. And I was raised that way, and I always thought, oh, well, this is healthy if I just do this, or it's healthy if I do that. But when I became older and started working out and paying attention to labels, I realized that my mom actually knew nothing about nutrition whatsoever.
Sorry, Nan.
Sorry, Mom. But she knows this. So that's a whole nother story. The great ending to that story is that I actually now realize that there's a lot more to healthy than than just putting together things and following diets. Just a way of life, a way of eating that works for you, that doesn't work for everybody. I know there's so many diet restrictions for people, but I will go ahead and let you guys talk. But
I think one of the things that your childhood kind of like reaped was the marketing aspect. Nan was very like, that's the thing with like food nowadays too, is everything is like all about marketing and how you market it, because so many people will just read a label and it's like called greenwashing. Is that, well, that's like
right,
cleaning products and stuff, but like where they make you believe this is healthy or this is good for you based on how they package it, and that's a huge thing with
because my mom and my aunt, when the fat-free labels came out, and this was like, I mean, I'm older, so I remember when the fat-free labels came out, they were so excited that they were Tootsie Pop suckers were fat-free. And they were eating those like they were going out of style.
But I feel like that fad, the fat-free, I'm going to call it like a fad diet, because they really are like things that I view as like trendy or like become popular, but aren't necessarily like about nutrition necessarily. I feel like that fat-free diet was, even when I was a kid or a teenager, like that was the thing everybody was always talking about.
And like sugar-free,
which
is the funniest thing, because like sugar-free, it's like, okay, so what is the replacement of the sugar?
Is it so sweet?
Yeah, why is it so sweet?
We're kind of on the common sense diet is really what it is. It's just common sense. We really need to stop. And if you are reading, if you're going to purchase something and you read the label and it's got 40 different ingredients and you can't read 38 of them, common sense tells me that's not a good thing to put into my body.
If it sounds like something that was made in a factory.
That's right.
I think, do you want to dive into nutrition labels, or do you? Okay.
Yeah, we can just go there, because I think.
Yeah, we can just maybe start there, because I think that there's more conversation about other things after that. But I think that just from, like my mom brought up, if you look at a nutrition label and it has 40 ingredients, first of all, let's start way back before that, because I know that there's a lot of people who don't even look at the ingredients portion of a or of like a label. The nutrition.
They don't even. Some
correct?
people don't know where to find it.
Yeah,
it's typically on the back of the box or the
a lot of
can.
people look at the front of a packaging, and if it is in like the health food section, they'll automatically assume, oh, it's healthy. Or if it's like whole grain, oh, this is healthy. But if you flip your package to the back, it will have your nutrition facts, and it will tell you all of the ingredients and the macronutrients of that food. It breaks everything down, right? And so at the bottom, what we're kind of talking about is like, it'll tell you what ingredients are in that item of food. So a lot of items, if you get it at the grocery store anywhere, is gonna have a lot of ingredients and some that you can't even pronounce. So kind of like one of the big things that like we do is look at a nutrition label, look at, okay, can I pronounce these ingredients? Do I know what every one of these ingredients is? And then if I don't, start to question, okay, well, what is it, and should I be eating it if I can't even pronounce it? And like touching on the sugar-free thing, a lot of ingredients in sweet things, even if it says sugar-free, there is a sweetener in there. It's probably just like a sugar alcohol, chemical sweetener, which would be all things that end with
Lose. So anything that ends with lose or OL, like ethereal.
sorbitol. Yeah, ethereal.
I don't think I'm pronouncing that correctly, but
like ethereal, sorbitol, those are all things.
Sucralose, glucose.
Yeah.
I said sucralose.
Yeah.
Aspartame.
There's another AIM one too. There's a lot of those, and those are all a sugar
Chemical.
alternative that is doing something not good for your body, and so in my opinion, I would rather just have sugar than have like the
for sure
made up kind, because it's not good for your body. But also you should just like look at things. If you like, what is an example? It's like today, I'll give this example. I went to One Stop Nutrition, and it's a nutrition shop, right? And so they have so many, and I wish I would have taken a picture of it because I was reading a lot of them, but they have so many like protein bars. And I was looking at all of the ingredients of all of them. And you'd think, oh, okay, like any of these are fair game. They're gonna be good for me. They have protein. And I, like the ingredients, I was not really shocked because I've been doing this for a long time, but like none of them were something that I think that anybody should be eating. They were all full of like sugar alcohols, like soy protein, and just a bunch of junk that is like not gonna be good for your body.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, we're like, everyone is smart enough to recognize, I think, that if you're purchasing a protein bar or a protein powder, something that you think is healthy because you're buying it at a health food store, but it has the flavor birthday cake, or it is Reese's peanut butter cup, or it's chocolate chip cookie dough, there's something in it, most likely, that is not natural.
Yeah.
That is, if they're not sweetening it with sugar, they're putting something else in there to replicate that sweet taste.
Yeah.
So just being aware of that. Obviously, like, I don't consume that. I don't judge anyone. I guess I should say that. Like, if that's something you decide to eat, like, no judgment at all, but just be aware that likely it has something in it that's not necessarily natural.
Right.
Yeah. So you also, like, one of just the big things, because like we said, we live very like moderate. Is that the right word? Is moderate the right
Balanced.
word? Like balanced. Yeah. So we definitely eat some junk, but we also try for, like, I'd say 80-20 is like about what I try to eat. Try to eat really good, but also I will have other things. So when I do look at nutrition labels, though, I try to look for one, making sure that I can read the ingredients, know what they are that I'm putting in. If it has sugar, then I just like would rather it just be sugar. And then also you have to know that on the ingredients list, it's listed from most to least amount. So that first ingredient is going to be what there's most of in there, and then it tapers off into like what there's least. So like, say sugar is the second ingredient, maybe try to find something that's not the second ingredient,
Right.
or has a different thing. Like with like, let's just put chocolate for instance. We definitely eat a lot of chocolate, but like we try to instead choose like Hu chocolate. It has instead like
It's more expensive.
It is more expensive.
coconut
Yeah,
sugar.
it's
And that
another
is the
ingredient.
thing. I will thank you for bringing that up. Eating healthy, if you're going to pick these alternatives and pick certain things, it does cost more.
Yeah.
Because junk food does cost a lot less. Like if you're eating junky, it does cost
The
less.
ingredients are so much cheaper.
However,
Yeah.
I would just say it's a good, like Gail and I have always said, our grocery bill is expensive. A lot of people would be like, wow, that's very expensive what you're spending on groceries. We recognize that, but it is an investment in our health. We don't have medical bills in our house. We don't have, we're not paying for prescription medications. We're not buying over-the-counter drugs. Like, we rarely get sick in our house, and we do believe a large reason for that is because of the food that we eat. We look at food like, we'll say food is medicine, and I think it's a big part of maintaining a healthy lifestyle. So for us, it's like we're investing in our health through food. So I feel like it's a give and take. Like, you may spend more on groceries, but you likely in the long run will spend less on other things.
Yeah, doctor's
Including
appointments.
eating out, because I feel like we have all learned like how to eat well, and I feel like everyone in our family, we tend to eat out a lot less because we have figured out ways to make good food at home, even like quick meals.
Yeah.
So we spend less money going out
like
to eat.
even I think there's a lot of seasons too in your life where like we knew a lot of these principles growing up and things, but like for instance, when me and Carson got married, we ate so junky for like a couple years. Like, it's like that newlywed thing where you're just like, oh, you know what, like we'll get back to eating good after a while. But it is funny how when you feed your body things that are not good and then you switch into taking care of yourself in that way and then you go back, it is almost crazy how your body like doesn't want to eat like the bad stuff anymore. Like it makes you sick, and you don't crave a lot of the sweets and things that you used to you know have.
Right. I mentioned in our last podcast how I used to work in a facility where we fed everybody all these cupcakes and candy and prizes that were candy bars. And I began to consume all of this, and over time I put on 15 pounds. When I decided to stop and I completely cleansed myself of eating sugar, I no longer craved those, and I was able to go to work and see the cupcakes and see the candy and the candy bars and all the things that used to just be so like, oh, I couldn't wait to sometimes get to work just to have like a Kit Kat, you know. But I no longer even crave them, and even now I no longer crave anything. Once in a while we just got off a 75 hard, and I was not eating any sugar, no treats whatsoever, no cheat meals, and my first thing I wanted was white cake and ice cream. And I had it, but it wasn't as like satisfying as I thought it was going to be. So I didn't have very much of it before I realized, ooh, you know, I don't know if this is worth it. So once you cleanse yourself of the sugar, you don't have the cravings anymore for the junk food as much. We do eat a lot of fruit in my house and a lot of meat in my house. Everybody eats a little different here. Everybody does eat a little bit different, but labels are so important because I never paid attention until you guys made me really ultra aware of it. And now I do pay more attention, and technically our bills might be a little bit more, you might think, but actually maybe they're not because I don't buy as much food.
Yeah, that's true.
If you come to my house, my pantry's kind of bare. I know that doesn't sound super exciting for people, but no one ever goes hungry at my house. We have a good we have good meals.
We'll
bring our own food.
Well,
We're the
when we get
classic, like
together,
that.
we do bring, everybody brings their own foods, and it's just a big free-for-all. We do eat together a lot. We really do. So
I will say, I was just thinking, because we were talking about Hu chocolate, and then we brought up like protein bars and protein powders. If you're trying to find something, I would say Jordan knows a really good protein bar. RX bars are really pretty good, I think, but she probably knows like one that's better.
No, I like RX.
Okay.
I like RX and I like Sans. S-A-N-S.
Those are the two best bars
And then
I think you can get.
With protein powders, or just if you're looking, you want something sweet, right? So she brought up Q Chocolate, has coconut sugar. The reason why that I would say that's better for you is because it's not a processed sugar. So table sugar is processed. It's white sugar. So white sugar, brown sugar, they're all like processed things. But coconut sugar is an unprocessed sweetener. We buy Ascent Protein. It's sweetened with, I believe, stevia. And then monk fruit's also a good natural sweetener you can find in some protein
And
powders.
dates for sure. If
Oh,
you're baking or you need something to sweeten something, dates are like the sweetest.
Dates are
they're like
so good.
Yeah,
They're
which is
crazy
funny.
sweet.
Chip loves dates. He'll just eat them. Like he asks.
I
for
was at the
dates.
gym and Cooper goes, Mimi, you got any dates in there? That's
so cute.
Because I will carry some dates around with me when I'm craving something sweet.
Yeah,
That is
you
so
can buy date sugar now. I bought it at the store.
That's cool.
It's a little expensive.
Yeah, all those things are. I will
Good to
say,
try.
like, too, when the way, like, Carson and I shop, we eat mostly meat and fruit. But it is funny, things that we used to have, like, a stocked pantry full of snacks and, like, grains and all those things. But now, like, our pantry really doesn't have a ton of, like, inventory as far as, like, those things.
Right.
Because, like, I don't eat a lot of that stuff anymore. The stuff in our pantry is usually for Chip. And even with him, like, we try to get the cleanest version of things. But, yeah, like, ultimately, like, we used to eat a ton of pasta. And we don't really eat that anymore. Which there's really good alternatives you can have to, like, just normal, like, white flour pasta. That's something that, like, a change in my diet that I did was no white flour, no sugar. Did you talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I talked about it in the last episode, but-
I know, I disappeared for a minute. But, yeah, that was, like, a huge thing. As far as, like, if you're wanting to make changes in your diet for, like, quick, like, benefits and weight loss.
I think that's
if
the
you
first
cut
thing.
out white flour, which is most bread,
Right.
and sugar, you will notice so
Yeah,
much.
because to throw a ton of stuff at everybody at the same all at once, it's so overwhelming. And it was overwhelming. I think it was overwhelming for everybody. But when you just start with just two things,
Yeah.
those are big things.
Yeah.
So those are challenging enough. Let's just start there.
Yeah.
And that's what I did when I was working, and I just stuck with that. And then before you know it, you stop craving the things that are bad, and then you start following different things on Instagram that start giving you a little bit more information and making you a little wiser. Then you kind of, they always say, you know, who are the 5 people that you are the closest to, and that's how you're gonna, that's kind of how I am.
Yeah.
Like, I'm with you guys so often, and you're rubbing off on me because you're learning so
Yeah.
much, and you teach me so much. And I just feel like it's been a little bit easier to switch. And most of the time, you'll be like, I used to love tortillas and cheese crisps. Those were just my go-to. And I can't tell you the last time I had one. And it's not that.
They are still good.
They are
they
good.
are. I'm like, I have
They
so
are
much
still
to
good.
say.
Everyone that's sitting out all day.
Yeah, see, that's why I don't want anyone to think, oh, I don't want to eat like her because she doesn't eat cheese
No,
crisps or
yeah.
anything. But it's just funny because I never imagined in a million years that I wouldn't be eating them.
Yeah.
But then they're just not my go-to anymore. So
Yeah.
it just
You
naturally
realize you
happens.
can live without certain things. That was like my like fear with food, because it's like such a comfort thing for me. Is like, oh, I love these though. I love that.
Yeah.
But that is when the moderation comes into play, because they like, even right now I am living a lot of like 20%. Like this week has been, I have, you know, I've been like, okay, I'm getting tortilla chips. We're eating this. We're doing that. And that's a healthy place to be. And then if you're feeling like, okay, yeah, I have gone overboard, then cut back
Just
again.
reel it in.
Yeah, just reel it in. That's like, you have to maintain a healthy relationship with food, because it is not bad and it's meant for you to enjoy. The problem is when you do only enjoying, because your body's just not going to feel good when after long term for that, and it's just not the best habits.
With the white flour, I don't know why. I feel like some people are like, what does that mean? I would just specify, like, that's wheat flour too. So like buying flour at the store, or like your standard bread at the store, that kind of all encompasses, I think, when we talk about white flour. If you're
Pasta,
looking,
pizza,
If
all
you're
the good
looking
things.
for a good bread alternative, I think everyone here eats like Ezekiel bread because it's made with sprouted grains versus like a processed flour.
Yeah.
So a lot of the issue in like American diet is everything is so processed. So your flour is processed and your pastas are processed and all of that.
Which
So-
Ezekiel bread is like, I love bread. That was such a big thing for me. So I'm like, I have to have something I enjoy. And I love Ezekiel bread. The flax one is my favorite. It is like the softest, closest to like a really like nice chewy bread. And I just toast that and slather
the
it with
7
butter.
grain one is pretty soft.
Yeah,
Oh,
that. But
so
yeah.
one of my favorite snacks is like at night and sometimes after dinner when you're craving dessert or something. Dad has discovered putting honey.
Oh yeah, butter, honey, and cinnamon on it.
Oh.
Yeah, I do that almost
it's
every
so
night.
good.
And
can't
I never like I'll eat 2 pieces of that. My honey toast.
Yeah.
It's so
Honey toast,
so
yeah,
good.
so good.
It's really
even
good.
sometimes in the morning if I'm like I want honey toast again, I will have it again like that with a cup of coffee.
So good.
So good.
I do want to say, because you mentioned like Instagram and like people you follow and stuff too, which I will say that is like can be a very, very good, but it can also be a really bad
Yes,
thing.
that's true.
And I've seen both sides, so
Yes.
not to slam it, because there are like some accounts that are just like really awesome and encouraging to follow, but with nutrition, it is not a one size fits all whatsoever. So you might follow somebody who like has their way of eating and it works great for them. But let's say they are a 25-year-old guy and you are a woman who is having kids and breastfeeding and all this stuff. You guys probably don't have the same nutritional needs.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
I would just say like take everything you see and read with a grain of salt and kind of like go back to like, okay, that works really great for them. I'm really gonna read into that, maybe try it, see how my body feels. But don't think that everything you read is the only way to do something.
Right.
And there's also like, you can start to feel guilty about things. You can start to feel shame about certain foods. And like, that's just something I want to be like, don't do that, because I just think that food can be a really, really touchy subject, and you can go from one extreme to the next. I've lived in both extremes of like very unhealthy, but also too healthy, to where it's like you're afraid of fruit and you can't eat fruit, and like you're afraid of the sugars in it. Neither place is a healthy place to be, and you want to find a comfortable place in the middle that you are one, fueling your body, because it is very, very important to fuel your body, because you will feel better when you are fueling it with what you need, but also not feeling guilty if you have chocolate or fruit
Or
in some
wine.
cases, or wine, and like there's just it is all about moderation, and you just need to find a happy balance.
Yeah,
of
and you need
what
to
that
like
means for you.
You need to also kind of measure your personality too with like your relationship with food. If it's getting to an unhealthy point, maybe you just step back from restrictions and those things at the moment and be like, I just need a week to cool it, eat intuitively, and then maybe come back and be like, hey, is there something I can take out? Is there something I need to add in? Like, I know like with women, especially because I know we've all talked about it, it's so easy to be like freak out if you wake up one day and you're just like, I just have been feeling so bloated and blah, and then you're like, I just have been eating this way, and then you start to get like emotional about it, and then it becomes unhealthy, because then you're like, I'm just not gonna like, I am not gonna enjoy anything for like weeks or whatever, eat something dramatic, and it's like you can't do that, because that's just that's not good for your quality of life or your like mentality. And that's a big thing for me, is I'm like, make sure your quality of life is still good. Like you want to, the purpose of eating well is to like be able to enjoy things in moderation too, because you aren't going to feel guilty if you have a healthy relationship with food. Like me, I'm like, I eat really well during the week, and then I'm like, if I want a glass of wine at night, I'm not gonna like beat myself up for that and be like, well, it has sugar and it's alcohol, which that's the thing with like the Instagram things, it's very anti-alcohol. So that's like one thing where I'm like, well, I love wine. I probably won't be cutting that out. So you have to like look at things like that and be like, okay, you know what they're saying is good, and this will be good for a lot of people, but not me right now, and that's okay. And you have to be okay with it.
And it is, everybody, I think that like Instagram, just social media in general, like gives everybody a platform, and everybody is like 1,000,000,000% into whatever they're doing, right?
That's true.
And even if it's just like in this short like stint of what they tried and they're doing, like everyone needs to do this, or you are just like, you're torturing your body, or like you are just so wrong. So it is just like, but then like in a couple months they might change their opinion too. So don't get like hung up in like, this is the only way to do something when they're going to change their mind. And that goes for everything, not just food, just anything on Instagram.
Everyone just gets too obsessed really fast.
I feel like it just has to be sustainable. Like, and being able to make sustainable, conscious, consistent decisions when it comes to food is much better than like being so strict for a short amount of time and then recognizing that like it isn't sustainable and then just completely falling off. Like I think the being balanced is so much better. And I'll say like I'm someone who, something that brings me a lot of enjoyment in life is baking. I really enjoy doing that. I like to make things that are not like necessarily good. Like there are times where I'll bake and I'll try to make it like a healthier version, but other times like I want the real deal. Like I want the full thing, and I have processed sugar and white flour, and I don't feel bad about it because it's something that is very much like a joyful thing for me. And I'm not going to give it up.
And it's delicious.
I'm not going to give it
an
up
amazing
altogether.
baker. So anytime she makes something, you just want to try it anyway.
Like,
you always
we'll do this. And like the same thing, like I love like, what is that when you put the pizza, what do they do at Char? Like wood-fired pizza. I love it. Those little personal like ones that could feed 2 people, I will eat that whole thing every single time because it brings me so much joy. I'm like, I'm not gonna cut that out forever because it's not good for me. So those are the things where you just have to be like, okay, you know what, we give and take, and it's okay. Like that's totally how we're meant to live. It's just, you have to be very like what's the word, like you just have to be very aware of when you can.
And like there are gonna be times, obviously there's gonna be like times or seasons where you're like, okay, I am ready for a challenge, like I want to do a cut. Like a cut is what it's called a lot in like nutrition world, where you are gonna be like, okay, strict. I'm gonna be really strict, I'm gonna be counting macros, I'm gonna cut out all of this stuff, but it's for a certain amount of time, and it's to like drop in or get your body reset because you have fallen off the wagon, and you just like need to reset your body. And that's okay. And that's okay as long as you know that you're doing it for this amount of time, and after that you have a good plan and you have a good headspace. There's some people though that can't do that without like then going into like a bad
like afterwards, like where like they can't get out of that without feeling like really guilty.
Hey friends, this is part 1 of our nutrition episode, so stay tuned for next week for part 2. We are just so excited for you guys to hear the rest of this. We hope this has been a blessing to you. As always, if you have any questions or need encouragement or anything at all, feel free to slide into our DMs at Mama Birds Podcast on Instagram, and we would love to chat. See you guys next time.